Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and here I'm in the botanic garden of Bogor in Java, one of my favorite botanic gardens in the whole wide world. And as in most tropical and even subtropical and warm temperate botanic gardens, of course, what is a botanic garden without a lotus pond? Here they have a big pond with a surprisingly small number of lotus plants. However, down here, those things which look a little bit like water lilies, I think those are lotus plants too. They have been chopped down, it seems, and then they all drifted here ashore. Interesting. Why did they chop them down but didn't remove them? Ah well, one man's trash is another man's treasure, because the lotus is not just one of the most beautiful plants in the world, it's also incredibly useful. It is a very important symbol in many Asian religions, a symbol of purity, because it grows in the dirtiest water and comes out of it and is perfectly clean. And actually, when some European looked at this under the microscope, well, not sure if it was Europeans, I'm Westerner, and found out the lotus effect, that basically the lotus plants, its skin is covered with wax, and the wax is not in smooth sheets but in papillae, or like a lot of small bumps, and said that's the reason the lotus always stays clean. People laughed at him and dismissed him. Well, now decades later, this is a multi-billion industry. Costs a couple millions nowadays to wash a skyscraper windows every year. And imagine if you could invest a couple dozen or a couple dozen millions once, so that you don't need to wash the windows regularly, or for cars or airplanes or other stuff. Well, the peoples of the tropics where lotus grows have been using it for a lot of other purposes. Yeah, I said this religious symbol, of course, that's why it used to grow in temples and other areas of religious significance. Also, of course, giant pink flowers, incredibly beautiful even without a religious significance, just using them as ornamentals. Also, every plant is edible. Every part, no, not every plant is edible. Some you can eat only once and then you don't eat anything anymore. So not every plant is edible, but every part of the lotus plant is edible. The leaves, the stalks, the flowers, and the seeds. The most important part, and the reason it's cultivated on a large scale in tropical areas and even in others, is the rhizome, which you can find even in Asian supermarkets in Europe. But we are not going to dig out the rhizome right now. We are after the fruits, since we are not a rhizome channel. The fruits are quite spongy. That one open. This spongy stuff is quite light, so once it gets detached, as you can see, it didn't sink to the ground, it drifted to the edge. And here in this pond, can disperse only locally, but imagine in a big swamp or river system, if this can float for weeks, it can disperse for dozens or even hundreds of kilometers. Very good dispersal mode. The seeds are sitting in those holes here. Nobody cut this in two. I broke it in two, but this might look to you like half a ball. No, it's the whole fruit. The seeds are sitting in those holes. And when you take out the seeds, they're covered in a very hard shell. You can eat the seeds while still unripe, and they're very tasty then. I ate them in Cambodia, but I guess you can also find them in Java at certain times. But even when they are ripe, they are still edible. However, first, of course, you have to remove this hard skin, and then what many people don't know but learn the hard way, you have to remove the green cotyledons. Not because they are so hard. No, where did they go? Oh well, I removed them, that's the important part. Not because the cotyledons are hard, but because they are very bitter. And then the remaining stuff, very hard. But with a strong flavor. Which reminds me a lot of hazelnuts. Good stuff. To be honest, I prefer the unripe seeds. I like the taste better, and also they're easier to extract. Here in the show, it's very thin, maybe less than 0.5 millimeter, but it's super strong. Yeah. I wouldn't open this with my teeth. It's super strong despite being super thin, and it might break your teeth. If you wonder where you can get those things, those fruits with those seeds, well, they sell the processed seeds sometimes in Asian shops, but if you want the whole fruit, in cold countries, in most Western countries, you will not find it in a fruit shop or a food shop, but you'll find it in the flower shop. Since those things are very durable and keep their shape, the sponge is very durable. When you dry it, you can transport it very easily on a ship around the world and sell it for little money and still make a profit. They are being shipped to Western countries and used in flower arrangements, a lot in graveyard flower arrangements, but also in other ones, because they are so durable. Stuff on graves is sitting outdoors for a prolonged time and is supposed to keep its looks for a long time. So, well, I don't recommend to you to go and rob some graves. Don't do that, please. But if next time if you're on a graveyard and see something like this, slightly creepy and creepy looking thing in the flower arrangements on the graves, a half round brown sponge with a lot of holes, and sometimes if they didn't shake it too much, with little balls in the holes, now you know what it is. So folks, those were the tasty lotus seeds. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful and incredibly fruit-rich botanic garden of Bogor in Java. And of course, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.